Well, hello everybody, it's Dr. Drake 63 here. I'm sure a lot of you recognize that emblem. That is the fabled Smith & Wesson emblem. Today we're going to look at a brand new firearm that I picked up. Interesting little story behind it. But one of my favorite things to do is unbox. So without further ado, here you go. The Smith & Wesson 5.86. This is probably as pretty as she's ever going to look because I have not fired her yet. Just want you to take a look at what quality looks like. Take a look at what a beautiful 357 Magnum looks like. Gonna unbox this today. Gonna talk about it, gonna shoot it a little bit, and probably just drool for a while. I am a sucker for a beautiful blued finish. And as you can see, this has that combat Magnum kind of look. What it doesn't have is a bunch of writing all over the barrel telling you to read the instruction manual and some other things which absolutely drive me nuts in a firearm. But this is a beautiful 4-inch, as I mentioned, 357 Magnum, adjustable rear sight. It is a single action, double action, which means you can cock and pull the trigger, or you can just pull the trigger, and there you go. Looking across the top, you see these serrations, and that's meant, especially on a day like today, if you have the sun involved in anything you're doing, that is meant to keep the glare down. You've got a very visible front red sight. And there you go. Like I said, I'm going to be putting fingerprints on this thing as I go, but you've got a very beautiful firearm. The story on this is real simple, and I'll get into that into a minute. This is how she comes. I imagine this particular size gun case gets a lot of use from Smith & Wesson. Obviously, you could put a 6-inch barrel in here. I don't know if an 8'd fit, probably. And what this is the blued cousin of the 6.86, which is very popular, as are most stainless revolvers. I am not a stainless steel firearm guy. In fact, the only firearm I have that is stainless is a Ruger 1022 takedown. So that's not something I'm typically looking for in a firearm. But this guy right here is beautiful, and we're going to talk about it a little bit. Stay tuned. Based on being impressed with this recently acquired Ruger Vaquero and 357, as well as the Ruger Super Blackhawk and 44 Magnum, I kind of had it in my mind I was going to get the Ruger GP100 in 357 Magnum with a 4-inch barrel. But then I went to the gun shop and I started handling firearms, and my local gun shop owners showed me the Smith. It was love at first sight, and quite frankly, there was no turning back. Now recently, you've seen another 357 reviewed. This is one of my Ubertis. This is the Cattleman 2. I also have the Smoke Wagon in 357. But primarily I'm using these for shooting 38 specials, and as you might know if you watch my videos, I'm getting into cowboy action shooting. So something like this, while it will handle 357 no problem, something like this doesn't have necessarily sights that are anything anything too accurate. It has a different kind of use. Okay. So I've been looking at other options because 357 is quite frankly a favorite caliber of mine. I've owned over time somewhere around 7 or 8 pistols in 357, as well as my favorite lever gun, which is an 1873 Birdie. Recently I have been talking about this and shooting this and working to master this monster in 44 Magnum. This is a Ruger Super Blackhawk. Very fine gun. I intend to do some hunting with it. However, just as far as carrying this around much anywhere, even as a truck gun, gosh, it's big. And the 44 Magnum is such overkill. The 357, in my mind, is the perfect self-defense round. And you can get into debates with me and others about that. I think it's a perfect self-defense round, primarily because it can penetrate, it's got good distance, energy carrying capabilities, you name it. And I wanted something that was a more modern 357 pistol to add to my stable of guns for shooting for fun as well as other uses. I mean, you know, let's face it, would I pick this to go, say, deer hunting over the 44 here, that Super Blackhawk? No, I would not. However, it would certainly work in that capacity. I love the 357 round, so that's really where all this starts. Don't get me wrong, I'm a big fan of the 9mm for concealed carry, mostly because of its auto-loader capabilities. And before anybody gets going on the 357 SIG, all I want to say is price and availability. Anyway, I am a big 9mm guy for carry in the waistband. There's no question about it. There's nothing that's going to provide a flatter, more concealable type of pistol, as well as the capacity gains that you're going to get with a 9mm, and that's why you see so many videos from me talking about my Glocks. For personal protection inside the waistband, nothing beats them. But you know, I don't always need an inside the waistband firearm, and I might be going some places like the woods where I might need something that's got some more power to it that can help me out and bail me out of a jam. Between that, shooting, and just the overall, gosh, ain't this a cool looking gun standpoint with these revolvers, that's why I'm looking at something like a Smith & Wesson 586. So here I'm getting ready to take my first shots. Gonna find out, hey, is this really worth that extra $100 or so than the GP 100? I think so, if anything, just because the firearm is gonna retain its value better than a Ruger will. Can't say that it's gonna shoot straighter or that it's a better gun. The reputation might be a little bit better, but it's going to really depend on who you ask, so it's a personal preference. I was amazed, maybe especially after shooting so much 44 Magnum lately, what an easy, low recoil firearm this actually is. Absolutely no issues with the recoil whatsoever. Of course, it's a semi-large frame pistol. It's got some weight to it, coming in at about 2.5 pounds or so, 2.5 to 2 3/4. So that's going to help. But shooting 158 grain loads with 357 Magnum, no problem at all. Really, the biggest issue is just getting used to things such as the trigger, specifically staging the trigger, i.e. The hammer coming back with the pull and knowing where you can stop and actually continue on with a lighter weight pull. So just very impressed with the handling of the gun. Here you're going to see my first shots. This is at 10 yards or 30 feet. It started out kind of low and worked my way up. Now we're going to go ahead and you're going to see shooting the same firearm with one hand. And again, amazed at how easy it is to shoot. Very, very light recoil, as I mentioned, and it's just a pleasure to shoot. Just a matter of getting used to it. Like I said, it's a new firearm, but everything working exactly the way it's supposed to. The timing, everything about it is just really nice. So have to say that no regrets in buying this firearm. Worth every penny, like I said. It's about $750, and I'd do it again without question. Here you're looking at some targets. This is at 25 yards. Definite room for improvement for the shooter. So I was very pleased with how this gun shot. Obviously need to get used to its particular characteristics, the staging in particular. You know, right about there where you hear the break, it's ready to go forward. And I can tell this is a trigger that's going to break in. And based on what I saw at the range today, and based on the 25-yard target, this particular firearm is going to be something I'm going to need to do a little bit of adjustment. It shoots a little bit low. And that's easy enough to fix when you've got an adjustable sight. A couple of complaints I've heard about this gun from people who've reviewed this. One is, if you look right here, you see that that internal lock right there. It's that little hole right above the cylinder release. For guys that are Smith & Wesson purists, that's a badge of dishonor. We can thank the Clinton administration for that. Some people call that the Hillary hole. I don't want anything on my gun to be called Hillary anything. Another complaint I heard is people say that the front sight is fixed and you can't replace it. Well, I'd like to call everybody's attention. I'm going to zoom in on this real close. I don't know if you see this little pin right here, but you can drift that out and you can change the sight. So that's a little piece of misinformation that's floating around out there about this firearm. But man, I got to tell you, I love the grips on this thing. They fit my hand beautifully. No recoil to speak of, none. And I even threw some 38 specials in there, and it was like shooting a cap gun. So very, very pleased with this. The holster here you see is from Triple K, and this is made to fit the Smith & Wesson K-frame, and like it quite a bit. It's a nice tight fit, and you know, you have the ability just to run pretty much any belt you're going to wear right through that, and she's good to go. So obviously not a concealed carry firearm, as some people like to try to conceal carry revolvers. This is obviously something I'd wear outside of the waistband. It's just too big a gun to try to do otherwise. See, also picked up a couple speed loaders for this, and these work really well. These work really well. When you first get them, a little bit hard to turn this to release your bullets, but you work with it a little bit, and it's pretty quick to do that. So again, just some accessories that are a little bit different. If you're used to shooting an auto loader, this is different without a doubt, but real big fan of this firearm. I've always wanted a nice Smith & Wesson revolver, and I got one. So appreciate you watching today. This is Dr. Drake 63 with my friends Smith & Wesson, saying so long until next time. Thanks for watching.